Netflix is facing anger in its ranks and in public for streaming a controversial new program from comedian Dave Chappelle. The stand-up special is called The Closer. In it, Chappelle speaks extensively about the LGBTQ community, especially trans people. Some critics say that Chappelle mocks the transgender population. Others say that the special pays tribute to a specific transgender woman he knew. And still others say it's all jokes. This much is clear. People are watching. The Closer has been streamed more than 10 million times since it was released. Activists are also paying attention. The media watchdog group GLAAD said that the special incites hatred and violence and argues, quote, now is the time for Netflix execs to listen to LGBTQ employees, industry leaders, and audiences and commit to living up to their own standards. So far, Netflix has stood firm. In response, more than 1,000 Netflix employees are reportedly planning a walkout next week in protest. For more on all of this, I want to bring in Matt Donnelly. He's a senior film writer at Variety. Hey there, Matt. In a memo obtained by Variety, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos wrote, Chappelle is one of the most popular stand-up comedians today, and we have a long-standing deal with him. His last special, Sticks and Stones, also controversial, is our most watched, stickiest, and most award-winning stand-up special to date. Given that, Matt, is this really a financial decision for Netflix?
It's an interesting point. Netflix for the past 5 to maybe even 10 years has been investing, hundreds of millions of dollars in top creators, and Dave Chappelle certainly is in line with those sort of figures. But I think more than that, it's interesting that Sarandos and Netflix itself is sort of drawing a line at stand-up comedy itself. If they were investing resources in, something scripted or even unscripted, putting together hundreds of people in the crews and creative teams to sort of, go out and make expansive series, I think it'd be a different story. But something specifically about stand-up is really interesting. And it seems that he's doubling down and trying to sort of stand on his rights that it's an art form.
Is there a point at which the heat might become too much for Netflix, or are all of the activists who are targeting it and talking about it actually raising the profile of this special and actually giving them free publicity, given also what we heard from Sarandos, that it is already so popular?
Absolutely. Yes. I think that for Netflix, it's sort of a rare sort of PR blunder. The situation seems to be getting worse and worse, sort of abetted by Sarandos continuing to speak out in internal communications. But yes, there is a sort of philosophy in Hollywood that there's no such thing as bad publicity. What I will say is I think potentially dangerous for them is, one of the fellow comedians that's available on the service, sort of next to Chappelle, is a comedian named Hannah Gadsby that Sarandos specifically sort of celebrated and called out in his memo, defending that the service has a wide array of content. She actually just sort of directly sent a very inflammatory and sort of blunt message to Sarandos saying to leave her out of it. So I think the second you start to sort of anger talent and sort of draw that unfavorable attention, that's when things can really start falling apart for you.
I made mention that within its own ranks, Netflix is receiving a lot of heat, and it revealed Friday that it had fired an employee for disclosing confidential financial information about what it paid for Chappelle's comedy special. Does that move hurt the company in the court of public opinion at all?
I would say absolutely, especially when you've got, a company like Netflix is known for sort of its unique, let's call it, culture of transparency and sort of directness. So when someone is, sort of perceivably punished, especially when there's many, many people in a lot of pain and their allies, within the Netflix ranks. I think it's incredibly sort of ill-advised to let this play out the way it has. But then also, I think we are more than aware that Netflix is a culture that has no problem parting ways. People, I think, that either underperform or compromise the company in any way.
So Chappelle has made his career by being controversial, by not holding back his punches, and in many ways, comedy exists as a reflection of society, and oftentimes pushes those boundaries in social commentary. Sarandos also told managers that The Closer doesn't cross the line on hate, and as such will remain on the streaming service. how much is what we're going through as a nation, trying to navigate previous biases in conflict with comedy? And do you expect that Netflix will continue to try and pursue controversial programming in the future?
It's a wonderful question. I think comedy is sort of overdue for a bit of a reckoning, specifically around, these super marginalized communities. I think in the case of trans people specifically, what's so difficult about the message the community is trying to send is that they have a shocking fatality rate that they believe is often perpetuated by harmful content, like something like these jokes. I know that people like to, his defenders might say that Dave is just kidding. But, when you sort of underscore the otherness of a community, belittle them, obsess on their anatomy, all those kind of things, it does contribute to, I think, a sort of damaging overall perception. But I think that, Netflix has basically on their front door that they want to be a place for artists and they want to entertain the world. So I think that they are more than prepared to have as many difficult conversations as it takes while amassing as much content as they can.
Well, on that front, are we hearing anything from Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle has been silent, and I think that if anyone is relaxing throughout this entire process, it's probably Dave. A lot of his material and his routine is about how he basically exists in a canceled state, to use his own language. So I think that Dave is probably setting the best in this entire situation, and he'll continue to do his work. And Netflix is bound by a multi-year deal to distribute that work. So we'll see what happens next.
Interesting. All right. Matt Donnelly, thank you.
Thank you.